Alrighty, well, it's 2 o'clock. Welcome to the week 1 Go to Training. My name is John Morton. I am one of the instructors for Psychology of Play. Welcome everybody who is in one of my sections this month, and welcome everybody else who's not in one of my sections. I'm happy to be working with all of you today and my sections throughout the month. Before we get started, I just want to touch base real quick. I know the chat box is one feature that is really fun to use. Everyone likes it. Please be mindful of how you're using it and think about it in terms of communication with me. Just because if we're all speaking to one another throughout, it can make it a little bit complicated for me to follow and to see people's questions, comments, concerns, etc. So if we could keep chat between ourselves minimal, that'd be great. I would really appreciate it. But right, like I said, my name is John Morton. I am one of the instructors for Psychology of Play. And I'm going to go through week 1. So welcome everybody to Full Sail. It's probably month 2 for most of you. But welcome to month 2, or wherever you are in your program. So we're going to talk a little bit today about where we're going, what we're doing, what we can expect out of the course. So yeah, that's where we start from. At this point, my hope is that everyone is somewhat familiar with the online platform. It looks something like this. Generally, there might be some slight variations, but this is roughly what everyone's online platform will look like. So each week, we've got our assignments lined up there. Excuse me for just one moment. Does everyone hear? I'm sorry, there's a background noise. I think I've tried to mute everyone and I'm having a difficult time. I think that did it. Hopefully we should have everyone muted now. Okay, wonderful. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure we didn't have background noise going on there throughout the entire session. All right. Well, no worries. So each week is going to look fairly similar. We're going to have, if you're not able to say that's not a problem. You can always watch the recorded session, which I'll put up after I'm done with this. So each week we're going to have our assignments. They'll be laid out here. This example is from November, but you get the idea. You'll see when everything opens. So everything probably open for this week on Sunday. The close dates are here though. So if you're looking and you're thinking, okay, what do I have? What do I have due today? If I don't sound like your instructor, I'm probably one of the other instructors who works at Full Sail. That is the short answer. We discussed this earlier ahead of the session starting. So you're still in the right place, even if you think I'm not your instructor. I'm probably not, but we have pools where we do our go-to trainings. That's the short answer to that. We do not collaborate on assignments. We just do it for lectures. Sometimes we will cover for one another if someone's on vacation or something like that. But generally speaking, we're working on things independently, with the exception of our go-to trainings. So this week we're going to start off. Our first assignment is the E3 Essentials. It opened up yesterday. And it closes tonight, so make sure you get that done today before 11:59 Eastern. Which reminds me that everything that happens at Full Sail is done on Eastern Time. So whenever you see things, just know that everything is going to be all in Eastern time. So if you live anywhere other than the East Coast, just keep that in mind, that your end times are going to be at a different time than your current time zone. So the E3 Essentials, if you haven't done it already, if you're looking into it, it's kind of like a personality assessment. I think that what I like about it is it's relatively quick. It's a snapshot, and it's all subject to change. I don't think it's a great indicator of the necessarily the long-term trends in your life, but it does give you a pretty good indication of where you are in the moment. So just something to think about. When I took the E3, I've taken it several times over the years. I found some interesting, some maybe a little bit revelatory stuff. But overall, it's an interesting assessment tool. I wouldn't bet the farm on it. I wouldn't let it define my life. But I think it has some interesting insights. So I'd encourage everyone to get on that if you haven't already. The next assignment that we have is our live lecture, which is us here right now. Make sure that you click that you completed the live lecture when you're done. Each of our lectures is going to be on Tuesday from 2 to 4 Eastern time, so just keep that in mind. In weeks 2, 3, and 4, you will have different instructors doing the live lectures. So another thing to keep in mind, if you get to your live lecture and you say, oh no, Mr. Morton's not here, you're still in the right place. It's totally all right. Activity 1.3 is our weekly plan. So I'm gonna scroll down from this just to give you an idea of what the weekly plans look like. So here's a great example of the weekly plan. A couple things to keep in mind with the weekly plan. It's a plan. It's ambitious. It is designed to be an ideal to work towards. So you have the different sections: work, play, fit, and push, and you'll be completing things in each of those for each day. The things that I will say are important about this is having a full weekly plan. Complete your plan entirely. I would say please don't leave anything blank. I'd also say make sure that you're answering the reflection question at the bottom of the weekly plan. The reflection question is going to be different from week to week, so please make sure that you're reading that question and you're answering it in a full paragraph. So kind of in the neighborhood of 4 to 6 sentences. Put some time, thought, and effort into that response. You'll see in the work section there are three sections per day. The reason is because it's likely that you probably have at least 3 tasks that fall into, work, or this could be your job, this could be schoolwork, this could be chores around the house, kind of anything that falls into that. I encourage people to be as specific as they can be, especially when it comes to school activities. I'd encourage people to actually go through your due dates and everything and say, okay, well, I have the E3 is due on Tuesday at midnight. So if you haven't done that already, you can put it on today's schedule. Submit that. The weekly plan is due tonight as well. So make sure you could put that on your weekly plan, that you're going to finish completing your weekly plan. But right, you can put all of your activities for class in the work section. You can play it if it changes color. That's totally fine. You can, as long as you submit it. That's really what's important. The play section. Inevitably, I have conversations with people who say, I don't have time to play. I'm busy. I work 2 jobs and I take care of 8 children, and whatever the situation is. how do you submit a PDF? Well, first you would take your activity, you'd export it to PDF, which is usually in edit, I believe, or I'm sorry, file export as PDF. Then you save it, and then you drag and drop the PDF format into the submit box on the FSO platform activity. So getting back to the play activities, the play activity is anything that you find fun, enjoyable, something happy, something that you like doing. Keep it appropriate for, school, work, etc. If keep it professional, I guess is what I mean by that. You do not have to submit a PDF. No. If you're a gamer, I would totally specify the game. If you just put Xbox, I will probably ask what game you're playing. I'm genuinely interested in what people are doing. Yeah, no, a lot of people have the same question, so it's totally all right. Shannon, you can submit in. I think there's 2 different formats that we offer it in. If you submit it in the formats that we've provided it in, that's totally fine. Again, back to play. This can be anything that you think is fun. If you like to, run, if you like playing chess, if you like walking your dog, whatever it is, put your activities in there. If you're a little bit skeptical, you say, "Oh, I don't have that much time for play." This can be 20 minutes. This doesn't have to be a huge, you don't have to break out, the Monopoly board and have a 4-hour game of Monopoly. You can put, if you want to, play video games on your cell phone during lunch, that's fine. Really, whatever it is, it's fine to do that. Sorry, I'm trying to read through everything. Can this be added to my phone's calendar? You can add what. If you find a way to do it, you're more than welcome to add things to your phone's calendar. I don't know how you would do it. I don't know if there's a clear and easy export. Alyssa, to answer, if I didn't say the games, we'll point to your instructor will probably ask you to elaborate. That's what I would probably do. I would say, "Hey, I see you're playing games. What games are you playing? What are you into?" So you could go back and you could edit it. You could change it if you wanted to, or you could see what your instructor has to say. Daniel, looks like you're getting ahead of us. What if I don't exercise? That's okay. You don't have to exercise. I'm led to believe that you're asking about the fit category. That would be my first guess. Sure. So fitness is broad and all-encompassing, and when I say that, what I mean is that fitness, wellness, health, well-being are all kind of pooled under this category about fitness. Fitness doesn't necessarily mean exercise. It could be your mental fitness. It could be if you're a spiritual person, you could put things about your spiritual fitness in there. A lot of times people say, "Hey, I'm not big on exercise, but I really love meditation." Eating vegetables totally counts. Yeah, if you're saying, "Hey, you know what? I'm making healthy meals for myself." That's great. No, absolutely. Yes, you can submit an updated version. Yes, you can always submit updated versions of your assignments prior to the turn-in deadline. So just as a blanket answer for everyone. So the fitness category, like I said, broad, roomy, all-encompassing. There's room for everyone there. If you leave it blank or you write, "I don't exercise," I will take points off. You don't need to retitle the update. No, that's fine. right. So fitness can be, whatever you want. Like I said, it can be meditation, it can be yoga, it can be, reading a book that you feel is good for your mental health. Yep. Daniel, meditation's fine. Yes, every day needs to have an entry. I believe you that everyone probably has an extensive work schedule, or everyone has the schedule that they have. So what I would say is that, again, that's where I'm saying the plan is aspirational. If you don't get to everything, I'm not going to check in with you at the end of the week and say, did you get to everything, and take points off. Treat this, one, like an assignment, because it is an assignment, and two, treat it as an aspirational calendar. And the reason that I say that, to answer, I'm sorry, I'm going to read questions before they're out of the way. You have to have 3 things in the work category. You do not. Everything else has to be one thing. The work category is related to work, schoolwork. You could put chores around the house. It could be household things that you need to get done. It could just as easily be called responsibilities I have. Son makes you exercise when you don't plan on it. I have 2 little boys who ensure that I get a lot of exercise. Nicholas, wouldn't it be redundant to put work as one of our 3? No, you can put whatever the things are that you want to get done that day that are, have to do with your adulting responsibilities. Whatever that looks like in your life. If you need to go, I need to go to the bank and get more checks. I don't know if anyone uses checks, but I use checks because I'm an old person. You can put, whatever kind of fits into those categories. Question is, can I put schoolwork more than once? You can put different assignments in. Absolutely. Yeah. I would encourage everyone to put, I'd put every assignment in, honestly. If you rate schoolwork, I'll probably ask you what assignments you're working on specifically. So I think that covers fit. I think we get through work, play, fit, and push. I was saying before, no, you can put schoolwork in throughout the week. I fully anticipate that you would. I don't think you'll only work on schoolwork once. What I would say about that is, I would say actually put what you're doing for schoolwork. Don't just write schoolwork. Write, I'm working on this activity. I'm working on my weekly plan. I'm working on my discussion board. I'm doing my follow-up posts on the discussion board. Yeah, being specific. Exactly. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for specific tasks on here, as opposed to broad generalizations about, like, if you say, I want to, if your fit category says be more spiritual, that won't work. What I actually want to know is what steps are you taking? If it says, eat healthy, I want to know, are you cooking a meal? Are you going grocery shopping for certain things? Oh, if you got a message that you're unmuted, I unmuted everyone and then muted everyone back. To answer that question, I think someone kind of came in late and was not muted, and it's more complicated to go dig through everyone than to just do it all at once. So that's from me. That's on me. Again, I encourage everyone to treat this as an aspirational thing. If time wasn't an issue for you, what would your weekly schedule look like? I realize that time is an issue for many of you. I totally appreciate and respect that. I get it. I work. I have kids. I understand. But for the purposes of this, I want you to fill out the schedules completely and entirely, being as specific as possible. If you came in late, you have to watch the video, and we can go. You can review it back then. But unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to go back just yet and continue talking about the review. For our push section, that's the area where I want everyone to think about what's pushing you above and beyond. How are you getting outside of your comfort zone? How are you growing above and beyond what you're doing just for school? So, if you're here, and you're in the creative writing program, but you're also, you're working on something else. If you're writing a book, if you're learning to program, if you're, spending time painting, how are you pushing yourself above and beyond to achieve at a higher level? What type of, what are you taking on that's maybe a difficult or challenging thing in your life? So that can kind of be, again, it's pretty broad. Creating a game, absolutely. Playing games, I would say, does that fall easier into play than it does into the push category? Are you pushing yourself above and beyond your limits? And if you can justify that and you think it is, then I would explain how that fits in. So that's what the push section is about. I'm getting a million messages all at once, so give me just a minute to read them all. If you're testing a game, if you're, you can put that if you want. That's fine. The recorded session will be posted this evening. Yeah, it'll be posted tonight, probably within an hour after we end. I'll post it pretty much immediately. Nicholas, going back. Yeah, if you want to try out a new game, I'd allow it. For one of those things, one of the push sections. But I think it overall is I'm wanting people to go above and beyond what you're here to do. If you have a side project that you're really excited about that you're working on, that's a great place to put it in there. If you have, other pet projects, you have opportunities to volunteer that you take advantage of, things like that. Whatever it looks like, you can put in your push goals. Again, each week there's going to be a different reflection question. Make sure that you're answering the reflection question completely. Full paragraphs, 4 to 6 sentences in that range. If you write one sentence or 2 sentences, or if you just, one line or yes or no type things, you will lose points. Please don't lose points. It's all, I think that this class is, I think it's set up in a way that we want to see our students do well. We want to see people be successful. So following directions completely is a great way to ensure that you do that. I'm going to scroll up real quick, which seems counterintuitive, but it's because we're going through I want everybody to kind of have the view of the weekly schedule and what that looks like. So that was the weekly plan we just talked about. There are two sections of readings. I'm sorry if you're having a hard time hearing me. Is that better? Worse? Is your volume turned up enough? Can people hear me? I can hear you. Okay, cool. People can hear me. Excellent. My counterpart behind me, Terrence Washington, he can hear me. Some of you might be in Terrence's section. Terrence is a joker and a gem. All right, so back to, everyone can hear me. Awesome. 2 sections of readings. Make sure that you do your readings. What I'll tell you about the readings is that the brain teaser and the discussion are directly related to the readings. So make sure that you've done them. Make sure you do them thoroughly. That's kind of the thing I'll say about getting the readings done. Make sure that you've done them. Keep in mind, the brain teaser, which is just a quiz. We call it a brain teaser because it's a nice, friendlier way to say it. It's a test. It's taken directly from the readings, and it's open reading. So keep your readings open. Go back if you're taking that and you say, "Oh, I don't quite remember the answer to this," go back and look it up in the readings. You have 24 hours from the time you open the test to complete it. Make sure that you get it completed. Make sure that you have the right answers right. Excuse me, I'm drinking water. All right, so after that, we have our discussion board, which I'll scroll back down because we'll have our format. Our discussion board changes week to week, so make sure that you're reading the questions. The questions are going to be different each week. They're going to be directly related to, to that week's readings. So again, just kind of keep that in mind when you're going through. I'm actually going into our week one, and the questions are actually slightly different from this. But the first question on there is: describe an activity that you find fun. Please keep it professional. I'm going to say all the time, keep it professional. Always. You're here, we're at school. It's great that we're having fun. We're, doing cool stuff, but just kind of bear in mind that, it's a professional environment. Everything that you do, here and now is kind of what leads you down the path for your career. So just keep it professional. The exchanges you have with your instructors, these people might be your peers at some point. Depending on where you land in the industry, you may be needing to go to them for reference later on. So just kind of keep that in mind. But right, what do you enjoy most about the activity, the fun activity that you're doing? How would you like others, or how would you talk others into trying this activity? So that's 3 different parts in one question. Make sure that you're answering all parts of a question. I usually encourage people to go through when you're looking at the instructions or the questions that are posed to you, copy and paste those questions into your reading, and then as you go through, after you see that's a 3-part question. So I'd go through and I'd answer each part of those questions right there, and I'd say, okay, well, here are the questions that were posed to me, and here's how I went through and made sure I answered to each of these things. It says identify and define at least 2 concepts from the week 1 reading. So, what are things that stood out to you? Identify them, tell me what they are, and then define them in your own words. Please do not copy and paste a definition. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for you to show me through your definition that you are able to fully understand what the activity is, what's going on, so on and so forth. So just kind of keep that in mind. The 3rd question: provide an example of how these concepts tie into the activity you described above. So you can say keep that in mind when you're talking about the activity. How do the concepts that you've discussed tie back into the activity? And the next question number 4: what percentage of your play goals did you complete this week? How did your play impact your week, your mood, motivation, self-esteem, relationships, etc.? And the last one is upload an image of yourself engaging in play. So I think that's a great way to go through and make sure that you kind of cover everything. Yeah. No, Shannon, you're totally, you're exactly, that's exactly what I'm talking about. The concepts that we discuss in the reading. So if you go into the readings and you look at the, each bold heading is one of the concepts that we're talking about. So, when you're going, I'm sorry, I'm clicking through on my end and getting over to the readings. So right, some of the things that that come up. Time batching is one of the concepts. I'm just in reading 1.4. Time batching is one. Peak performance is another. You scroll through multitasking. I'm going to tell you all please, please, please make sure that you read the multitasking thing. If you tell me about how great multitasking is in your life, I'll probably ask you what you thought about the readings. Yes, yes. So right, those are what we're looking for. Look at the big uh, headings in the readings. Those are the concepts that we're looking for you to discuss. Make sure that you're, reading those and then kind of talking about them. There's a lot that's said about each one, so you have plenty of places to take off in your discussion. Make sure that you are addressing at least two of the big concepts that we talk about in the readings. So just kind of something to think about. Sometimes they get broken down into smaller sub-concepts. I would encourage everyone to pick two big separate concepts as opposed to discussing sub-concepts, just because it can be a little bit confusing. If you need a list of the course concepts, if you go into the Getting Started section, there is a list in there that goes through a bunch of our course concepts, and it would be all great things you could write about in your discussion boards. Yeah, the multitasking stuff is pretty interesting. I think it's interesting. It's a lot of stuff that you wouldn't have guessed about how detrimental it is to your productivity, but it is. So if you haven't read that reading, make sure that you do. Check it out. So after you've answered those questions each week, you're going to respond to your peers, respond to two classmates to their initial posts using the RISE model. Feel free to just put each one of these points out there: reflect, inquire, suggest, and elevate. That's the way that I leave feedback when I leave feedback for some of the students each week, and I put each one there, so that way I have, hey, here's a reflection. I read what you wrote. Here's my response, and kind of what I thought, what that elicited in me. I inquire, so I'll ask a question. Hey, what did you think about this reading, or you talked about this concept, and what are some kind of more in-depth stuff you have to say on that topic? Make a suggestion. Say, hey, if you like this, you might also like this. And then elevate the conversation. How can you take that conversation to the next level with what you're talking about? After that, you're good. That's the end of the discussion board. Make sure that you're responding to people's initial posts and you're using the RISE model. If you're responding to things that people have said to you, that does not count as a response, so just kind of keep that in mind. And then here's the rubric for all of it at the end of it. So this is the full breakdown of credit. Thoroughly address all of the questions and meet length requirements. So again, we're answering in full paragraphs. We've answered all the questions, each part of the question. So you have multi-part questions. Make sure that everyone is covering those entirely. Provide clear and specific specific examples and or concepts in the initial post. So just kind of make sure that you've covered those. You've discussed your topics. Respond to at least two classmates using the RISE model. Again, we just talked about that. Make no spelling or grammatical errors. Fairly straightforward there. And then meets the initial post deadline, which is Thursday, which it says if you go and you look at your assignments, you'll see that the initial post is due Thursday. Make sure that that's done. If you miss that for some reason, you can still make the post, make your full post, and respond to one additional peer. So instead of leaving feedback for 2 people, you'd leave feedback for 3 people. You can earn those 10 points back for missing the initial deadline. That makes up the whole 100. Does anyone have any questions about the discussion boards? No. Excellent. someone will at some point, I'm sure. Okay, yeah, no, if you don't have questions, you don't, yep, everyone's going to write no. Cool, that works. If you do, jump in with them. If not, no worries. Yeah, I don't know. I thought we've got almost 70 people. You could all write no, and then no, please don't. It will really. Are the discussion points part of the professionalism points? No, they are separate from that. Your professionalism grade is a fully separate grade. No, I mean it does play into both GPS and GPA. Can we get an extra 10 points for doing 3 posts turning on time? No, you cannot. Your professionalism grade is actually 10% of your overall grade for the class. So they are connected in that way. Your professionalism starts at 100, so you're just kind of there right out of the gate. The only way it goes down is if you don't turn assignments in on time, or you conduct yourself in a not professional way. I think that everyone probably, has a pretty good idea of what that means. I feel like for my students, I'm pretty lenient. The only thing I take professionalism points away for usually is misassignments or terribly unprofessional behavior. But you really have to cross a line for me on that, which I feel like most of us, we interact through email, maybe a phone call every now and then. It's pretty hard to be terribly unprofessional, but if I can always, if you're getting close, I will be happy to remind you, hey, remember to maintain professional boundaries. So just kind of keep that in mind. But right, that's our discussion board post. We have one discussion board post each week. Again, the initial post is due on Thursday. What do I consider terribly unprofessional behavior? I mean, you'd really have to like if you were like, I don't know, personal attacks. Yeah, no, I'm an adult. Yeah, I mean a verbal, if you, I don't know, went out and said terribly horrible things, called me a lot of awful names. Yeah, nothing that I can really think of. No, you can you can use abbreviations. Yeah, harassment, things like that, right? It hasn't come up. Certainly online, especially, it's very, it's easy to keep our professional boundaries. We don't see each other. You guys are out there on the internet land, and I'm here at the Full Sail campus. So it's pretty unlikely that we have any issues. But yeah, that's what that is. Moving forward, check your messages daily. We've got this bar, the little icon with the envelope. Maybe check your settings and see what your message settings are set to. Sometimes they get set in a way that you say, oh, I'm getting way too many emails, and sometimes you're like, I'm not getting any emails, what's going on? Adjust that so that way you see it when you get a grade or when you get comments from your instructors. All right, we got somebody from Kansas, cool. I have a tendency to, if I see an issue with, an assignment, I'll leave you feedback. It'll also usually change. You'll see it. You'll get a grade in there. So you're like, oh, I got a grade for this. But check what your instructors are saying to you throughout the month. See what they have to say. See if they've got anything interesting. They probably will most of the time. So just kind of something to think about. And now we'll talk about play. That I think everyone is probably. Does anyone have any other questions about the assignments? I like to get through assignments, make sure everything is covered before we move on. It's just one of those things that I know inevitably everyone kind of like to get all the things that are causing anxiety out of the way. Okay. If you do have questions about assignments, chime in with them. But I think that should cover everything. Everything sounds good. Awesome. No questions. Fantastic. That makes me super happy to hear. Yeah, this class is pretty straightforward. A couple things due at the beginning of the week, a couple things due towards the end. Chica, is play just about fun things we do, like playing outside, or video games? Play is whatever it is that's fun for you. It really encompasses a lot of things for everyone. Yeah, Kenneth, I agree. If it's funny. I think back to when I got married and bachelor party. I went fishing with my buddies, and some people hated fishing, and some people liked fishing. And the people who liked fishing, took fish to the people who did not like fishing and brought them too close. So. Right. Yeah. Play can be different for everyone. And I think that's a great example. Give me just a second. So basically each week the schedule is the initial. You have your weekly schedule, your initial post, reading assignments, or and any assignment or quiz. Yep, you can put all that in your weekly schedule. Yes. Yes. Dominic, if you play a game and it's fun, but it also kind of causes some stress, that's fine. Again, I'm going to just chime in with, if you're going back and forth, it would be easier for me if you did not, because that way I can read what everyone is trying to say. But I'm glad that you all are finding some common ground. People, our students like video games. That's what we found out about one another. A lot of times people have pretty similar. Steven, I'm gonna tell you that probably it goes into play. Yeah, probably goes into play. Yeah, whatever is play for you. So I'll just use myself as an example in this situation. My hobby is like work with plants. I really like being outside. I like growing fruit trees. That's probably it's what I probably spend the most time doing outside of working and raising children. So if some people would say that sounds like manual labor, which it is, but I really enjoy it. So it's a lot of fun for me. I don't think about it as work. I think about it as a fun thing to do. So play is going to be different for everyone. It is what it is for you, and that's fine. And you don't have to, your ideas of play can be totally fine. Yeah, I'd say it's peaceful and relaxing for me. Yeah, sure, but there's sometimes I get really excited about plants too, which I get that's weird, but I get excited and amped up about things. So there's kind of it's all levels of enjoyment for me. It's going to be different for everyone though, and that's fine. We don't all have to have our play doesn't have to look the same. Some people, some people want to go skydiving, and some people want to do Sudoku puzzles or crosswords. It doesn't all have to be the same. It doesn't have to look the same. It's going to be personal. It's going to be personal to each person. What you're really into, what you love. Oh, fun! That's an interesting job. Are you skydiving instructor? Yeah, or are you jumping out of planes for other reasons? The push section can be hard, yeah, to touch on that. Oh, okay, Dominic, cool. Army Airborne. All right. Well, thank you very much for your service. I appreciate that. Very cool. The push section is tough. It's definitely an area where we ask people to get outside of their comfort zone. So it will be. If you have questions, you can always email your instructor and kind of talk about it a little bit more in depth if you want to. Yeah, push can absolutely incorporate personal goals. All right. So what brought everyone here? What did we all come to Full Sail for? Probably, oh gosh. Well, that's fast. It's just moving too quick. Everyone came to pursue something that they're pretty interested in. I like how engaged you are. This makes it a lot more engaging for me when I can see everybody jump in the chat box. It's heartening to see participation like that. So thanks everybody for chiming in with degree programs and kind of what your passion is that you're pursuing. I think that's really the takeaway, is that everyone's here to pursue their passion. Everyone has an idea of what they want to be doing and where they want to be going. And to give you all a little bit of background for me, excuse me, my education is all in clinical social work. And you're probably thinking, well, that's funny because now you're here teaching us psychology. And the thing that brought me, that attracted me to social work was being able to be a change agent in people's lives. I like being able to meet people and meet them where they are and say, hey, here's where you are. Where do you want to be? What do you want the future to look like? And then giving them the tools to carve that future out for themselves. And I really look at this class as an extension of that. You're all here. It's the front end of your journey, and I say, hey, where do you want to be? In 2 years, 3 years, whatever time frame it looks like. And how can we get you there? What tools can I help you with? What can I do for you that will get you closer to your goals? And setting you up to succeed, especially at the beginning of your education, is a huge part of that. I think that if I can say, hey, here are some tools to help you be successful moving forward, you're going to be in good shape moving forward. I'd also encourage people to kind of take a step back from whatever it is we're focused on immediately, and think about the world in a bigger sense. To answer your question, I am there's many instructors for this class. So both is the answer. There are several other people who teach this class as well. You could likely be in someone else's section, but here in my go-to training session. Next week, like I said, someone else will be here doing the go-to training session, and my students will be with them. So to answer that, which will probably come up again next week, you'll say, you don't sound like Mr. Morton, and it will be someone else. And now you'll know why. But I'd encourage everyone to kind of take a step back and think about things in the bigger picture. It's really easy to get focused and fixated on one idea or one point. And we can kind of miss the bigger picture a lot. I think that, it's really easy. And this is probably a conversation I have more with students towards the end of the month than at the beginning. But, we get these ideas. We say, oh, I can't wait till I'm done with school and then I can do this. And what this is usually the very first job we have out of school. And I'll tell you this, is that most of the time our first job out of school is not the job that we're with forever. The first job I had out of school is certainly not what I'm doing now. And what I am doing now, I wasn't even on my radar. When I first got out of school, I was like, oh, I'm done with school. I never thought I would be teaching, just because it wasn't, that wasn't the trajectory of my life. That wasn't what I thought I was going to be doing. And now I love it. I'm really happy with where I am. But it definitely took taking a step back and saying, hey, you know what? I don't know what all's out there. What is the big picture? What's important to me? What makes me happy? it seems like when you look at successful people, when you look at, people who are happy, um, they've got a handful of things in common. I don't know what I wanted to be doing to answer that question before teaching. I wasn't sure. Um, yeah, Cody, you're right. Success is a continuous journey. Absolutely. Um, but I think it's important to think about creativity and innovation. I think those are topics that those are the things that are actually going to get you farther in life. I think that you will all graduate and you'll all have a piece of paper that says, "Hey, I'm proficient in this skill set." Um, what I want to ask everyone to focus on now is, what else are you going to be able to walk away with when you finish school above and beyond a piece of paper that says I'm proficient in these skill sets? Because everyone will have that. Everyone who walks across the stage at graduation gets a piece of paper that says, I know how to do these tasks. I'm good at using these tools, and which is important. You have to know the tools. It's absolutely it's an essential part of school and getting your first job. But what I want to know is what else are you bringing? What are what they call soft skills that you're going to be taking from your time here and moving forward with? There's a lot that goes into. I think it's more than just book smarts and common sense. I think that's part of it. So don't get me wrong. But I think that we want to know, are you a creative individual? Are you a free thinker? Do you have the ability to innovate? Can you lead a group? Can you extrapolate on incomplete data? Can you go walk up to a situation and say, okay, can you pick up somebody else's project and say, I think this is where they were going, but I don't know what's usable, what's not usable. How do we move forward? Um, those are the things that are going to make you invaluable to the companies who work for you or the projects that you pick up. Um, Dominic reminds me of a quote: "Those who are interested do what's convenient. Those who are committed do what's necessary." Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 100%. Because right, in the real world, in your job settings, sometimes you get a blank slate, and they'll just say, "Hey, blank slate. This company wants us to do this thing, and we do it." But a lot of times, it's not it's not always that clean. It's not always that fluid. It's not always just a nice little tidy package we pick up and we walk away with, and we say, "Oh, now time to do the work." Um, your job will not give you a test every week and say, "Oh, what do you know?" It's eventually you'll just say, "Hey, you have this knowledge base, apply it." Um, it's application of knowledge. That's what people are looking for. So it's kind of that's where I'd like people to get in the mindset of, right out of the gate is am I able to apply the knowledge that we have? Play is exactly that. It's applied knowledge. You think about that, and you might think that seems silly, but it's not. You think about everything you've done, all the learning experiences you had as a child, all the games you played, all the you probably watched somebody else play. You probably started to figure out what the rules were. Everyone is. If you're in a line of kids at a baseball field, and you're at the end of the line, by the time it's your turn to bat, you probably have figured out likely what you're supposed to be doing, kind of some of the rules about what baseball is. Um, it's about being able to, learn from watching others, learn by doing. Um, so that's what play is. Play is a learning tool. It's a fun learning tool, but it's absolutely a way for people to start learning. As children. does play, how it shapes the brain, opens the imagination, and invigorates the soul. I think that's absolutely the case. If you look at anyone who's I have small kids, so it's easy. I have two-year-old boys, and they it's like the biggest thing in the world. Like we play, we have fun. I watch them learn, I watch them laugh, I watch them sometimes get upset with each other, but they're learning interpersonal skills. They're learning how the world works around them. They're learning things that probably they shouldn't do. All those things. It's all a hands-on educational experience that we call play. And the sad thing is that a lot of times we do limit it to just our children. We say, well, kids can play, that's fine. Now we're adults. They're twins, yeah, to answer your question. So defining play. We want to look at kind of these things. It's a handful of ideas that we come across, and we'll go through them one at a time. So apparently purposeless. We're doing play for its own purpose. That's it. Play is one of those things that we play because we like to. We don't need to be motivated to do it. We just enjoy it, and that's why we engage in it. It's voluntary. Similarly, we're not compelled. No one's making us go out and play. We just get to do what we want to do, and hopefully we're having fun. Excuse me. There's inherent attraction. So, you're playing, you see other people playing, you want to jump in and play with them. Does play have to be social? I make music in my home studio as well as a podcast where I do interviews. Does that count as play? If it's fun for you, it does. If it's play for you, it counts. That's what I'll say about it. Again, I do, what others would call manual labor in my garden. But it's fun for me. It's what I like doing. So, I'd say that you can, again, if you're whatever it is that you do for fun that you enjoy, that is also professional, and okay to talk about, which professional, not illegal things. Don't tell me about anything that you're doing that is illegal when you discuss play. This is just a really easy baseline. Don't talk about anything illegal. Or your bedroom habits. I'm not interested in those things. Those would fall into unprofessional things. Yeah, exactly. Kenneth, you're yes, exactly. 100%. Does surfing count as pushing yourself? Are you pushing yourself? If you do it, that's kind of turn it back around on you. If it's a push for you, then explain it. Absolutely. I'm happy to hear about it. Yeah, if you're learning how to, that's a new thing for you, by all means. Freedom from time. So this freedom from time is a kind of a crazy one. Sometimes it's great, and sometimes it's terrible. But I'm sure everyone's had this experience where you're doing something, you get lost in a story. If you're reading a book and kind of the hours fly by and you wonder what happened. I feel like this is really easy to do when you play video games. Do you say I'm going to play for 20 minutes and 6 hours later, you're like, oh gosh. Or you're like, okay, I'm going to play for a few minutes and then go to bed, and then the sun's coming up and you're like, oh no, it's time to go to work and I haven't slept. I only know about these things because I've had these experiences before. I've definitely gotten, caught up with things. We get engaged in a really great conversation. All these things can be freedom from time experiences. We have diminished self-consciousness. I think that's. It can fall into two different categories. I think you can have the, dance like nobody's watching. When you're really having fun, you're enjoying yourself, you kind of stop worrying about what the rest of the world thinks. It also falls into a lot of times we're playing, we're engaged, and we don't feel that, time's gone by. We don't feel the fatigue. We don't feel the hunger. Maybe we get hurt and we don't feel, the pain because we're so engaged in what we're doing. But our consciousness of self gets diminished. Play has an improvisational potential, and that's kind of a given. It gives us the freedom and the ability to improvise, to kind of create for ourselves. We have continuation desire. So once we start, we usually want to keep going back to it, if not keep doing it immediately. We're drawn to play regularly. And the big tip, don't confuse these with play personalities because they're different. We're going to talk about play personalities in the second half of the go-to training. I just wanted to give everyone a heads up, though. And remember that play is about the journey, not the outcome. It's about, what are we doing? Where are we going? How can we move forward? I am going to give everybody a quick break. Take 10 minutes. We'll come back at 10 after. And we'll finish the second half of the go-to training. We'll go from there. And we can start back on the second half of the go-to training. All right, so welcome back. We're going to talk a little bit. Here we go. Yeah, that's fine. Let's see. So we're going to talk about play personalities, some benefits of play, and reconnecting with play. So as we all sit here now, do you think that play is valuable as an adult? Yes. All right, cool. Yeah, you're welcome to ask a question. Maybe wait till everyone gets done saying yes. You don't have to keep type yes in. Oops. No. Did someone have a question? Yes. Okay, jump in with it if you want. If you want, I can, let's see, I can unmute you. There's a hand raising button. If you want to just raise your hand, I can unmute you and you can talk. Or you can just type it in. Whatever makes you happy. I will assume that you are typing. Play actually helps me as well. For instance, I learned to operate heavy machinery easier as a result. The hand-eye coordination video games gave me. That's awesome. And I'm not going to lie, I'm kind of jealous. I feel like heavy machinery operator is like every kid's like fantasy job. Like my kids love bulldozers. We'll watch YouTube videos of bulldozers running. There was a bulldozer on my street one day. They lost it. Sorry, real quick before we keep going. Mira says, oh golly, hang on, let's find it. So do we have to include 3 items on each topic, or do we just need to put just 3 items in the play category? 3 items in the work category. Every other category is just one thing. Can I count working at GameStop as a form of play? Only if it's fun for you. That's really up to you. Play is producing. Okay, yeah. I mean, if you're playing your work overlap, that's totally fine. You can explain that. You can write both things. I would write it in both sections if it applies to both things. Oh, look at that! Lots of people work at GameStop. Crazy world. Oh, hang on. I'm trying to. So that was quick. Did you say one thing in at least? So in one thing in every category, except for work. Work will have three items. 3 items per day. 3 work-related items. I take pictures of dogs. Awesome. That's cool. If that's fun for you, you can put that in there. All right. Yes, work is 3. Everything else is 1. Exactly. All right, wonderful. So the whole thing, what we were getting at before is I think that play is super valuable as an adult. I was talking about it before. We were saying, a lot of times we we play when we're kids, and it's normal, and everyone says, oh, all right, we're kids. Let the kids play. Let them do what they want. And then, as we get into being adults, it tends to be something that we do less and less of. And sometimes our mentality around that changes. And we say, oh, that's less for kids. It's time to be an adult, get a job, pay bills, etc. Um, and I think that there's some compelling evidence to suggest that play as an adult is beneficial for one. It definitely allows people to reduce some stress. Build relationships with people. Um, there's really a lot of different reasons that play is good. Yeah, I totally can touch base on if done in moderation though. Yeah, I think that everything in moderation is problem. I think moderation is important in a lot of areas of our life. I think the same thing. I think it's all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. It's the same idea. Um, I think that a lot of times we can overdo anything in our lives. I think that that's true. I mean, even if you think about something that's healthy and that's good for you, and if you overdo it, it can get to be too much. It can be, it can take over parts of your life. So yeah, absolutely. I think that moderation is key to a lot of things. But I think that play is important. Like I said, for its stress reduction purposes, but also for its ability to build relationship. I think that's one of the ones that we forget about. I think we a lot of times it's interesting. There's been some interesting studies about men and their friendships with other men as they get older, and it seems like they have less and less friends, and they kind of end up getting more and more isolated. But I think that play is one of the things that kind of combats that in a really nice way. I think it's probably worth looking into a little bit more. So a lot of times we equate play and seriousness, and we say, "Oh, these things, we can only be serious and we can't play." And I would challenge that, and I'd say again, there's room for both things in there. Um, Even if you look at, big successful, business people, they they get out and they have fun. I think that we don't always see people out having fun, and they don't always talk about it because a lot of times the context in with which we interact with them is you know we see them at work, so they're probably not going to talk about um, what kind of things they're doing for fun when they're at work. Excuse me for just a minute. All right, I'm back. My apologies. Um, so right again, we look at the contrast between you know uh, people who play and what that looks like for them. Um, I think that everyone who is successful in life is also taking time for leisure, but we don't always see it. We don't always know what that looks like. We don't always know, what they're doing. And a lot of times we think, oh, this person's all business. All they think about is, how they're going to be successful and what they're doing. And I just don't think it's really the case. So I encourage everyone to kind of maybe take it with a grain of salt when you see someone who you admire and you respect. Say, oh, that person's really successful. That's great. But what else are they doing? What does the rest of the balance in their life look like? Um, I think it's important to take some time and look back at our lives. Historically, what did we do for play? What was fun for us? Um, what play activities were we engaged in as young people, and how does that seem to be impacting our lives now? What were the play activities that you did when you were younger? And the play history is actually, I think it's within the readings. You can kind of go back and it'll give you like a kind of a walkthrough for what to look at. But it's interesting to think about, what got you interested in the first place. Um, in one activity or another. Um, And then thinking about, right, where does that fall into your game, fall into your life now? How does the things that you've done historically for play relate to where you're going in life? So we have our play personalities. We're going to go through them one at a time. The very first one is the Joker play personality. I'm sure everyone knows someone like this, somebody who probably likes practical jokes, likes to have fun. All right, sure, yeah. So there's likely to be someone who falls into that play personality. I think it's probably something that we all deal with. My counterparts in the department have some running games that we like to play. I got my friend Terrence very good one time with a mannequin head inside of his desk. He liked it. He's sitting next to me. He says it's true. He remembers it. He was scared. I was very scared. He was very scared. But yeah, it's one of those things. I think that if you are a practical joker, it's likely something that you will need to do in moderation and with some tact. I think this is one of those ones that will get you into trouble if you're not careful. So be mindful. I'm sure everyone who's seen The Office has, some memory of, Jim putting Dwight's items in stapler and Jello. It's one of those things that you have to be careful with. Yeah, I'm glad some people seem to recognize that. But right, the Joker play personality, somebody who's probably looking to have fun, make jokes, being silly, probably looking for a laugh out of their friends whenever they can get one. The Explorer is another play personality. I think this is one that a lot of times people write off and they say, "Oh, I don't travel. I don't feel like I'm an explorer." And it's interesting because I don't travel a lot, but I identify with the explorer play personality, and the way that I really see that is when I without jumping into a big conversation about this, I'll play video games sometimes, and I don't play a lot, but when I do, I like an open world game where I can go out and explore and look around and discover things, and kind of go out on side missions, and kind of explore the periphery of a video game. I think that it's something that it's fun. It gives you the opportunity to explore a world without really ever having to leave your house. So I think it's one that a lot of us can fall into. You can explore through all sorts of things. You can watch some people explore through watching travel shows or cooking shows where people travel around, all sorts of different ways to kind of get out and explore the world and learn and discover new things without ever actually having to leave home. So there's different ways that play personality can come out. The kinesthete is someone who's probably always in motion. That tends to be the one thing about a kinesthete is that they're in motion. They probably like to play. They might play on sports teams. They might be a runner. They might be kind of constantly working on something, or they might be fidgeting all the time. There's a lot of different ways that the kinesthetic play personality and learning style, which you'll learn about, show up. So we have the competitor, and the competitor a lot of times can also be kinesthetic, but doesn't necessarily have to be. The competitor play personality is the person who is more interested in the competition than they are in the game. They're more interested in setting a record or beating a person or the win. They're hungry for the win, and they probably care about that a lot more than they care about all the other elements that are going on. and for a lot of people, this is great. For some people, this probably manifests in a way that's, not great. This might be the controller smasher or the board flipper. Um, hopefully we don't fall into those categories. I've definitely flipped a Monopoly board when I was a kid. But right, the competitors is mostly interested in winning. That's what draws them back to it. Then we have the artist play personality, which I think this probably is one that most people can relate to. And we think about this in a lot of different ways. I think there are artistic approaches to all sorts of different things. I know we'll inevitably, have a business student who says, "Oh, I don't feel that artistic," but I think there's a way that being able to express your creativity. You can express creativity through a business plan. I'll tell you that right now. There's definitely ways to do it. Yeah, the business art of spreadsheets, absolutely. There's definitely something to it. So don't let anyone tell you that it's not creative. I think there's a lot of creative problem solving that occurs in business and I mean in traditional arts as well. But I think that the artistry of it is important to recognize and to realize that you're not just a machine. That there's a lot of personal touch that goes into these things. So we have the director play personality. And just going to real quick, if you can all just keep the conversation, just assume it's between you and I. Just otherwise, I miss questions and things scroll by too quickly. If you have a separate channel you want to chat on or you want to talk elsewhere, no, I'm not. No one's in trouble. I just want to heads up. The director play personality is probably the person who really likes arranging the pieces more so than they like playing the games. I was this way as a child. I like to set scenes up with my toys. I like to orchestrate a big scene, but not so much do anything with them. Maybe you relate to it, maybe you don't. It's likely there's probably a lot of the epic plastic army man war. Yeah. It's likely you'll probably relate to a lot of these, not just one, but there may be one or two that you really gravitate more towards. Oh, Shawnee says me too. So bother with my Barbies. Yeah, it's fun. It's fun to kind of put the pieces in play and to tell the story and to have all the different moving parts going on and think about that and orchestrate it. It's a fun activity for people who are who gravitate more towards the director play personality. Then we have the storyteller. I love a good story. I listen to a lot of storytelling podcasts. I really just enjoy getting lost in narrative. It's a big thing. So I love hearing from storytellers. I think that this, again, narrative is so much of the world. It really, it's one of the things that so many people, can use in the world. Yeah, you can absolutely have more than one type of play personality. Absolutely. There's like I said, there's likely several that you'll identify with, and there may be one or two or multiple that you really say, oh, I'm really this thing. But yeah, absolutely, they all can apply in different ways, and it's likely that you'll relate to and identify with more than one. Absolutely. And last one is the collector. Like I said before, I have a collection of fruit trees. I really like, working with them. And there's absolutely a part of me that that really enjoys the collection aspect of it. You get a new variety of a fruit tree for me. I'm like, oh, I got this new one, and it's like, it's the cool new thing, and I'm happy about it. And I'm like, all right, cool. Well, what's next? So that's absolutely a part of it for me is being able to work on and develop a collection. It's fun to be able to keep collecting, get new things, buy, sell, trade, all those things. Are fun, and they kind of drive people to dive deeper into their hobbies and passions. So that's the play personalities. There's hopefully a few that you have identified with. They'll come up again in the readings, so keep an eye out for them there. We were talking a little bit earlier about the benefits of play, and maybe I'll just encourage everyone to think about them. We're gonna go over some of them. Nick asked a great question. What about the completionist personality? I'm interesting. Thanks so much for touching on that again. It's not one that we have set aside, but I know exactly what you're talking about, right? Liking things to be fully done. I think it probably falls under the collector at a certain level. Yeah, it's funny. Timothy jumps on the same thing. You like a full set. You like it to be 100%. You like to see the completion bar go all the way to 100. I think it's an extension of that, but I think there's probably other types of play that show up that aren't listed there, but that's a good basic fundamental rudimentary list of things that fall into that. So it might not fully encompass every type of play, but it does a pretty good job identifying most types. So play connects us. I think that's probably true for most people. I'm sure. I mean, I'm just sitting here. It looks like we've made friends online. We've got new online friends. We're probably all going to play video games together after this. People want to. They want to be related. They want to hang out. No, it's fine. I'm not. It's no big deal. I'm glad. I'm genuinely happy that people are connected. It's online is it's tough because you're so far away from each other, and I realize that. And you have your online platform, and you can talk back and forth. But it's great for me to know that you all are gonna go play. If you're gonna go play games after this, that's awesome. That's cool because you're gonna move along in your program with this person. You want somebody to kind of keep track of. Say, hey, how are you doing in your classes? How's this going? How's that going? How do you like your teachers? We don't get a lot of that when we're in the online education system. So it's great. I'm happy that people are getting connected. Play fosters creativity, flexibility, and learning. I think that's absolutely true. I think that anyone who's played almost any game has had to stop and think on their feet and say, oh, okay, even if you're just playing make believe games with your friends as a child, you're making up scenarios, you're creating problems, you're figuring them out. Kenneth says there was a study shown. Oh goodness. That showed children that played first-person shooters actually learned things easier due to an increase of processing information. I don't doubt that. You're playing on the Rubik's Cube right now. Very cool. I keep needing to get my hands on a Rubik's Cube. I have a formula for one. I was like, oh, I found the formula and I don't know where it is. It's probably written down somewhere on my desk. But I've been eager to try it out. But right, play really does. It gives us the ability to learn and work at different concepts that we deal with. I said before, play reduces stress. It's absolutely the case. It does, and I think some people, if you're still skeptical about play, you might, that it reduces stress might not be enough for you. What I'd say about that is, if you think about what stress hormones actually do, they're really bad for your body in a long-term way. So I think that being able to alleviate those through play is pretty important. If you don't believe me, I believe there's actually some videos later on in the month where we talk about the way that stress affects the brain and the body. So keep an eye out for those. It's stress in the long term can be debilitating for us. So reducing it's always going to be a good thing. Play teaches us perseverance. I think there's. I'm sorry. What about yoga or aerobics? Those are great as well. Yeah, I think those are great ways to reduce stress. Samantha, socializing is hard for me, so I don't play much. I think that you can play by yourself. That can be there are forms of play that don't have to necessarily be social. But yeah, if that's something that you want to break out of, that could definitely be a something to put in your push category. Say, make a little bit more time for a social play. That's awesome. But right, you can play along. I do a lot of gardening by myself. I also like to run, and I run by myself. Both of them feel like play activities for me. So you can definitely play by yourself. There's nothing wrong with that. Kenneth says, with the group we have here in Discord, we can get to know each other as classmates, but also develop friendships with games. I totally agree. I think that if you find people who you identify with and who you like spending your free time with, it's a great way to do it. I think it's an awesome way to go out and meet new people if you'd otherwise have a hard time getting out. And especially when we're all spread out all over the country, it's great that we have the online platforms to do that. This is a touchback on. I remember someone mentioning Dark Souls, which I've not played, but I understand it's very difficult and you lose and you die a lot. Play teaches perseverance. It's one of those things that if you've ever really struggled to get to an achievement, to get to an accomplishment in a game, in a sport, whatever it is, you know what that's like, and you have that experience. Like, oh no, I've done this. I definitely know what perseverance is about. And I think it's important to remember. I think perseverance is one of those things that there's not a lot of places in the world that are just like, here's how to persevere. It has to kind of come from within in a lot of ways. Play does tend to make us a little bit happier. If you're playing, you're enjoying yourself, you're probably going to be having a good time. I have no arguments for that. I agree. And a little play goes a long way. This is one thing I'm going to say to everyone who has an excuse for why they can't play, why they don't have time for it. Play can be 20 minutes of your day. You can carve out just the smallest amount of time. Carve out just a little bit of time. 20 minutes. Honestly, that's as much as if that's all you can do 20 minutes, and find something that you enjoy doing. If it's reading a book, if it's you could be watching YouTube videos on your phone, whatever it is that you enjoy doing, make some time for it, and see how you feel. See if it if you feel refreshed afterwards. If you are enjoying what you're doing. It really does go a long way, and it doesn't have to be this, hours long, gaming session. It can be something pretty short and abbreviated, that I think you'll get the results, even if you just play for a short amount of time. Reconnecting with play, it's probably something that may have been on the back burner for a lot of us for a long time. Pick it back up, see what happens. Worst case scenario, you get through this month, you say, oh, I played and I wasted a bunch of time and that was stupid. And you can put it down next month and you can go back to doing whatever you feel like doing. It's easy. It's easy to stop playing. We don't have, nothing's calling us to it, but play is the only thing that calls to itself. No one's saying, the landlord doesn't call you up and say, hey, have you been playing and having a good time? They say, hey, I want my check. So the world doesn't encourage it, but it's one of those things that it's important to do. It's important to do the same way that eating healthy is important to do, and exercise and other stuff. It's all, having balance in our life is important, and having fun is part of that balance. It's just the part that tends to get chopped when we get busy and we get overwhelmed and we say, I don't have time for this, and we don't worry about it. I'd encourage everyone to keep time for it, make time for it. Change the way that you think about play. If you have I'm too busy, I'd encourage you to challenge it. That's as much as I'll say. I'm not going to sit and say you have to do this, because you're going to do what you want to do. It's your time. I just think it might be worth it. Give it a shot. Worst thing that happens, you go back to your old habits before then. Take play history. It's in the readings. You'll go over it in the week. Look it over, think about, how you played as a kid and how that relates to what you're doing now. Were your childhood play habits, are they directly related to the career path that you're taking. It can be pretty revealing. Surrounding yourself with playful people. Sometimes it's definitely fun when you want to play. It can be challenging when you need to get work done, but something to think about. Are you around people who are playing? Are they having fun? Are you, are you enjoying yourself? I think that if you have a group of friends and hey, I have a good time when I go out with this group of friends, they're probably out playing, having fun, enjoying themselves. Spend some time with them. Carve out a time in your week to go spend some time with your friends. Little ones and pets. If you have kids, nieces, nephews, animals, other people's animals are great because you don't have to clean up after them. I guess the same is true of other people's children. But if you get out and my kids have a good time. Wherever they are, they're pretty committed to it. They're like, we're gonna have fun, we're gonna have a good time, we're gonna enjoy ourselves. They cause a ruckus. They beat each other up, but they absolutely have a good time. So kids kids are good for that. My friend got a husky, so I visit more often than before. Hey, you know what? That's fine. Sometimes I get it. You want to go play with a dog. I'm with it. I get that. So I hope that everyone has maybe a slightly altered idea, impression, whatever it is about play. I'd really encourage everyone to stop and spend some time and reevaluate, where do I stand with this? And some people may very well be saying, oh gosh, I hardly got through creative presentation because I spent so much time playing games online. I need to play less games. And if that's you, play less games. Reevaluate that. Maybe say, I need to work on the balance in my life. And if you said, I haven't played games in years and I haven't played and I, don't really get any play in my life, we say, hey, it's worth time to look at it. Get a little more balance in my life. I think that the key to this course, and it's the reason that we have the weekly plan, is to say, hey, are you hitting all these parts of your life? Is this all stuff that is going to lead you to greater balance in the long term? And that's what I'd encourage everyone to kind of to aim for. So just think about that as you move forward today and through the rest of the month. It's just a fun, hilarious picture. Does anyone have any questions? That is the end of my lecture, but I will sit and answer questions and hang out for a little while. It's not my dog. I don't know. Yeah. Hey, great. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it. If you don't have questions and you want to go, you are free to leave. What type of presentation is this? Is Keynote, I think. If you have questions, wait till everyone gets jumped out, just so I can get to read them, because everyone's questions are flying in really quick. Yeah, thanks everybody for being here. It was totally awesome. You all have a great month. And yeah, if you have questions, if you want to raise hands, it might actually be easier to sit and chat out loud. Do we only have one of the tests, or do we have all of them? I'm not sure. If you're asking, I will post this shortly after I'm done with the recording. I'll convert it and then put it up and put a link up. You have a test each week. They are weekly tests. They're not cumulative. If that answers your question, Justin. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's one question, one test with 20 questions. There should only be one test available to you. Let me go back. Now I'm terrified that there's more than one test, but there should only be brain teasers. Yeah, there's only one test per week. Justin, are you in one of my sections? And I guess really, what section are you in? If you can see, it should say up at the top after the class. It should say DEP 1013-0, and then there's a section number after that. What section are you in? You're in section number 16. I will double check. I'll see who it is, but no, you should only be taking one test. It's yeah, that's odd that it would be set up that way. But right, you should only have one test. But I appreciate you letting me know. I will ask around and see who has your section. Are there any other questions? Questions about assignments or questions that you've posted that I have missed? I apologize if you asked a question I didn't hear you, or I didn't read it. Any other questions? Yes. Yes, Jacob. What can I do for you? Jacob, are you able to? You can ask your question if you want to talk. Oh, there we go. That came up. Never mind. I'm sorry. It says, so if I'm using PCS-ing to Korea in 2 weeks, who do I need to tell to change the time on? I'm not quite sure I follow your question. Oh, you're moving to Korea in 2 weeks. Do you need time off? Is that, if you need time off, you would want to talk with your academic student advisor. If you're not planning on taking time off, oh, you need to change the time zone. It's probably in the settings. You just go into like the menu options. Ah, there we go. Rachel says you can change it in the portal. All right, cool. All right. Well, that seems easy enough. Let's see. Justin, I see your hand is up. Yes, what can I do for you? You're unmuted.
Okay. So, can you hear me? Oh, yeah, you can hear me.
I can hear you. Yep.
What I'm showing is like, it's showing 20 things on there, and each one is 5 points. Is that just each individual question? Because when I click on one of them, it brings up all 20. So I guess that's what I'm confused on, because it says like in the time batching reading, and then underneath it says choose one, and it says it's 5 points. But when I click on that one, it has 20 questions. Are those each individual ones, like according to the peak performance, according to the multitasking and all those? Those are all. Is that all a part of?
Yeah, if you there's only one test, so when it opens up, it'll say right. The first question says in the time batching reading, time batching is defined as, and you answer the questions, it's worth 5 points. So you scroll through, there should be 20 of those questions. That is the entirety of the test.
Okay, yeah, because it's giving me like 20 different choices to click on, and each one has 20 questions in it. I'm just not sure if that's just each individual question.
It might be.
And
It might be that
okay.
it's like a weird. There might be a weird issue with it. But yeah, you can just click on the first one and then scroll through it and go through it and answer all the questions.
Okay, and then my second question is on the bonus stuff. Like, how is the bonus graded? Does it give you extra points
It
in
does
doing so? Because
not
it
give
didn't
you
look.
extra points.
Oh,
It's
okay.
just extra information. If you're really interested in, a particular topic or subject matter, you can get a little bit more information on it, but it's not for a grade.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
No problem. All right. Any other questions? If you have them, jump in. Otherwise, I will shut down the training. Hey, yeah. Have a good afternoon, everybody. Can I get a quick yes if anyone does have a question? Anybody? Any questions at all? All right. You all have a great afternoon.